Oshinoko episode 6 was so real to the point of almost being unwatchable by the time the credits started rolling. And that's honestly a good thing because subject matter like this should be talked about more, especially given that this episode's story is actually based on a true story. And the fact that unlike this show where she was saved before taking that step, or at the very least falling to her seemingly death, our boy pulled her up. But in the case of Hana Kimura, who was a participant in this Japanese reality show, after so much cyberbullying took her life, and the show ended up having to cancel the season because of everything that happened. And I watched the clip of what apparently started her cyberbullying, and apparently not only was it something that was basically scripted like she was supposed to do it, she was just playing the role that she was given. The fact that flipping a hat off of some person in the show caused her to become such a villain online. This episode is so brutally real, and I can't begin to express how much of a masterpiece this episode truly was. Now, before we jump any further, I do have to mention, we do have a full live reaction to this episode, and honestly, I was left speechless. There was a couple of minutes where I didn't say a thing, because honestly, what I was seeing by the end, it truly shook me. So if you do want to see that, you can consider supporting over there, but we do got to analyze this episode, because this is hands down the best episode. I actually think this surpasses episode 1 in its entirety, and you can feel free to disagree, but that's how I personally feel, because I think the concept of cyberbullying and what that can do to someone's psyche, it doesn't get touched upon enough, because the keyboard warriors out there who will always act like, just turn off your computer screen, it doesn't matter. When you're literally a participant on this reality show, and then you go to school and the same bullshit is spread to you. Like the fact that people lack compassion in this modern age, and those who have it, they get drowned out by the negativity, which makes it seem like it's not there. And to watch someone who, this is, I think, the most painful moment, because you see her after all the hell that's piling upon her. You see her as a kid, and you see her growing up and how passionate she is to be amazing. She's trying her best. She's someone's daughter, she's someone's family, and you see her as she gets older, she's happy, and then we see her just sitting in a dark room watching comments telling her how all women are like this and they should just stick to their roles, or how she should do everyone a favor and apologize by dying. These are the things that are actually said. Even if this wasn't based on a real story that happened, I think it was back in 2020, the fact remains this type of shit happens day after day, and sadly so many people's stories aren't told because they just don't get to see the light of day. And I think watching these two characters, Yuki as well as Akane, and the fact that this show, in the grand picture of reality shows, is actually more real than a lot. There's some reality shows, even in our own world, where they're scripted in the way that they edit things to make it look like drama's there, but in actuality, when you ask the people involved in said drama, like you can look at Hell's Kitchen as an example, right? They don't script it in the way of a lot of these shows where it's completely fake, but they edit things to make drama look there. And you can read Reddit threads where people who have participated, who were involved in the so-called drama, and they're like, actually, insert person was actually a pretty great person. I actually had no problem other than one moment, which was edited to look like they were actually a horrible person, right? And that happens all the time, and this show seemingly is doing a similar thing where, maybe something that happened, like someone was mean to them at school, they amplify it to make it look like there's this big piece of drama because it will sell. And honestly, I thought the direction they were going to go was that ultimately this girl who was getting hate threads after, oh my god, I can't believe what I'm seeing. I totally thought the thing that they were trying to go with was that ultimately she would use that negativity to craft a villainous persona, because that does happen all the time in reality TV shows. People hate you, use that negativity as publicity, and especially given that the manager that she felt so bad that was acting as her shield against the dude who was just screaming and belittling him, I thought that dude was gonna be like, perfect, we got negativity, we can sell that, we can make her into a villain. And instead what they decided to hit me with, which truly sucker punched me, was watching someone slip further and further to the cracks where she just wanted to end her own life. And that type of subject matter is brutally real. And while maybe some people will say, it's not as real because she didn't actually fully commit it, I don't give a shit. I am glad that our boy was there to save her and was worried about her because she did not deserve to slip away, and I'm so happy that rather than just keeping it as real as it was, they at the very least gave her some hope and someone to give her a hug to say, your life is worth something, girl. And seriously, I can't get over the fact that this episode went as hard as it did. Watching her just read those messages, and then once it got to the point where it was criticizing her upbringing, like her parents must have been trash to raise someone like that, and having to lie to your mom's face saying everything's alright, throwing up in the bathroom because even at school you can't escape this. While sometimes turning your screen off maybe will save you the bullying, deleting your social media presence will, it doesn't change the fact that this shit can haunt you in your day-to-day life, and people tend to forget that the person that they're attacking, especially on something as fake as reality TV, it doesn't matter how real something is in terms of it's the most real reality show out there or the most scripted and fake. At the end of the day, all the people involved in that are real people. We don't know if the person we're seeing on our screen is actually how they act in reality, and half the time, if not more than that, the reason they're acting away is because they're told that by the show's producers. And the fact that people form these parasocial relationships thinking that insert person deserves so much better because I saw them in this way in the show, and this person's whose presence who tried to make a name for herself at the end, how dare she try to steal away our goddess's spotlight. Like, it's pathetic how people form these parasocial relationships, and how an episode that starts with what I thought they were trying to do with saying, hey, we're gonna turn that negativity into publicity, and we're watching a more real reality show in the grand picture, but how we used editing, how we use a one-off comment at school to make a drama narrative of how everyone hates you because of insert so-and-so, turns into one person who her entire life hustled, and what do we see at the end? Her willing to jump off an overpass to her death. That is heavy, heavy subject matter, and I love the fact that a show that started off with a reincarnation plotline has turned into shows where we analyze how manga authors feel when their works are brutally butchered in anime adaptations. How a loving mother in an idol industry had to keep such a secret, but that secret gave her so much purpose in life, to what these parasocial relationships can do, and how people tend to forget the person they're hating over their keyboard is a real person with real feelings. And I think the best thing about the people who will either now go to lengths saying, I always loved her, I wish she was always around, I can't believe, she would do that, how could she do this to her fans, or, oh, she should have just ignored it. These are the same people who either were attacking her to begin with, or if they dealt with even a percentage of the hate she just received, would curl up in a corner and die themselves. People lack empathy, and those who don't get drowned out by the people who act like edgelords and trolls. And that's what makes Oshinoko Episode 6 an absolute masterpiece, and in my humble opinion, one of my personal favorite anime episodes of all time. I'm going to be rewatching this a few times before episode 7 drops, and I'm going to love it and analyze it more and more because this episode is an absolute gem. Some of my favorite episodes are the ones that of course hit as hard as this, but the thing that truly gets me is how I thought they were going a completely different direction until the final few minutes of this episode. I really thought she was going to craft a villainous role and that's what was going to happen. I mean, hell, initially when she did the cut, which was a complete accident, I thought at first, oh, she cut her, and then I completely switched. Nope, it's a dramatic effect. She was cutting the blood in the air to really symbolize that this is going to be her moment of kind of like being the villain for the show, and yes, getting hate online, but using that to propel her career or something. Instead, we get something that should have been easily resolved with that hug turned into everyone being absolute scumbags. And of course, the show wasn't going to cut that out because that would sell. They weren't going to do something to avoid her getting hate online. All they'll do is they'll tell her to log off Twitter. This shit was real, and this was 10 out of 10. Thoughts and feelings yourself though down below. Drop a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. Be sure to ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload new Oshinoko videos, of course. And also, as I mentioned, we do have a full live reaction to this wonderful, if not painful, episode available on my Patreon. And while you're there, you can also get a video shout out. So today we have Fernando, Jake Mullins, and Furno19Z. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.